Her previous flattery only seemed to have blamed the pink mare, and the knowledge of departure had brought her back to full alert. Nevertheless, she was humbled for long enough for me to slip away. The room beyond was just as large as the surgical chamber, if not grander. This chamber was also not broken into smaller segments like its neighbor. Wall full of shattered brain jars and one large smashed tank stretched high into the gloom, each broken tube still dripped a strange green liquid. Sensible pipes still feeding them the green sludge and I appeared to have quite gotten the message that the world had ended as they spat the vicious fluid across the metal walls. To my left was the hot glow of a furnace. It was surprisingly still a lot active. The flames coated the whole room in a hot, fiery glow as the inferno inside still raged. The same could not be said for the brain pods scattered all around the place. Just like the majority of the robots on the upper levels above us, the glass cases and the many constructs were also shattered. Piles of scrap had heaped up over the countless wreckages as if they had not moved in years. That stillness was betrayed by the fact that the factory still chugged, clanked, growled as if it were alive. I attributed that eerier fact to the storm hammering down far above as I made my way through the brain-bogged yard. There's no such thing as ghosts, I told myself. Always be reminded where that belief had got me last time. There was one break in the eerie-looking scene, however. A familiar silhouette started before the almost blinding light of the ember-spitting furnace. Didn't know you had so much common with a crow. Hate to break to you, but that thing's not some shiny trick you can pick up and drag through Crimson with us. I muttered snugly as I approached. My harsh confidence back for a change now I was away from Cherry. Gina's figure did not move, and my confident look turned from mild to mild confusion at the lack of any smug responses from the clearly agitated Griffin. You're going to blind if you keep staring into that thing, you know, I added, but still nothing. She was like a ghost, as dead as the lifeless brain bots scattered amidst the scrap piles around us. Gina? I asked as I finally reached her, then froze. She might as well have been blind, as her eyes were as cloudy as the wasteland's dreary skies and as wide as spotlights. Her expression was loose and lifeless. Yet that was not what earned the sight of her in my shocked gasp. Atop her head, being like some crude heart, and wrapped a wicked combination of mutated flesh and a melon to her skull with a brain. A small disc upon the corrupted organ's surface bore a glowing eye, and immediately it snapped around to face me. I staggered back, but the moment the thing made eye contact, Gina struck out at me with her talons in an instant. Sharp claws cut 3 distinct lines across my helmet. Once again I found a hate for those talons that arose most times was attacked by one of her kind. She didn't seem to care about anything as she turned stiffly, and it was almost like a crude replacement of that mechanized brain's intended body as she began to shuffle forwards. The blank look still in her eyes. I backpedaled, trying really hard to think what the fuck was going on. I just ran out of ideas for telling Cherry how great she was. Now this? Gosh, this fucking wasteland. My instant impulse was to shoot the brain off her head, as all my targeting spells marked her as hostile. Yet I had no idea what they would do. I had a feeling if I accidentally killed her, the angry Griffin would become an angry ghost and haunt me forever. With that in mind, backing away seemed like the best idea right now. Gina, this isn't you. As much as I know you probably want to singe my height, I don't think you'd go about it like this. I tried to reason. The senseless Griffin was unfazed as she mindlessly moved towards me. I felt chunks of scrap and shattered glass on my hooves as my round brushed against one of the walls. Strands of wires fell like snaking tentacles across my back as the room itself seemed to come alive and reach out for me. From somewhere came a buzzing sound, slowly growing in volume until it was as if the thunderstorm outside was just inches away. Through the static rumble, I could almost hear a voice. It was a deep tone, almost sounding as if it was spoken with an accent. It felt as if it wormed its way into my head, and all this angry sensation, the sight of a way more literal brain worm before me was enough in the way of imminent danger to keep those dark intrusions out, however. Looking about in search of anything I could use to disable my opponent, without killing her, my eyes came to rest on the set of all tools. Unfortunately for me, she didn't offer any more time, and in my stupor, the Griffin pounced, talons aimed directly at my face. Without thinking, I ducked, rolling to the side and instantly regretting it as my stomach churned. Gina struck the hard wall, several empty brain jars clattering around her as it shook. Yet she recovered in a mere seconds, as if the pain had not registered in her mind at all. Sound boomed through the room again. Words trapped within it becoming more audible with the static beat of whatever hidden speakers it was surely coming from. Once again, I was not one to listen to the sounds. I jumped into a gallop, fighting the gnawing feeling in my gut as I reached the tools and encased a considerably large hammer in my magic. Damn it, was at times like this I really wish I still had a knife or something. The moment I was armed with a slightly less deadly weapon than any of my guns, I spun around only to find that the griffin was nowhere to be seen. My eyes instinctively scanned the air. I was almost relieved to see that not all the wasteland experience had abandoned me, even if it failed to reveal the location of danger. Voices booming down from above stopped, as if waiting in eager anticipation for a killing blow. Pulled the blown weapon close. Gina, here, Griffin, 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 I called, in a feigning attempt at mockery. You're the one who wants to shoot her, the mind stated. Yet the idea that I was not as the kind of mercenary she was, would not consider killing her just because she made brain jack to not control her own body. I was no monster. That was at least until the griffin finally made herself known. With a muffled shriek, she fell down from the thicket of wires and pipes above me, as if the wall had consumed her and spare her out exactly where she needed to be. I raised the hammer as fast as I could, forcing it between us, and her talons slammed over me. I was pinned to the floor, my stomach twisting and forelimbs quivering as I fought to keep the shaft of the hammer between my helmet and her talons. I tried to kick up into her underside with my real limbs, but every hit felt like as if it were impacting against lifeless flesh. Brain lashed into her head, locked onto me with its lone eye. Spidery tendrils seemed to sink deeper into her skull with a fleshy whir. Then she began to force me forwards with her rear paws, sliding me along the safe floor until the pair of us ended up directly in the center of the room. It was at that moment I realized that the thing in position of her mind was not trying to kill me. That voice above became a little whisper, its buzzing tone punctuated by several loud splashes. I looked to see some of the still intact brain cases shatter, the green liquid and augmented content falling to the floor with a series of wet thuds. The newly released brains locked onto me with cold, red eyes. Further, they all began to slither towards me with an unnatural speed that betrayed their sluggish-looking nature. Horror filled me as I realized exactly that what was Gina was penning me here for. And the urge to just shoot the griffin was stronger than ever. As if it were some kind of desperate race, the horror stashing towards me came closer. God damn me! I cursed as my morality clashed with my will to survive, ultimately resulting in a surge of magical through my horn. The blast of cyan fire erupted upwards into the griffin's face, forcing her back in a flurry of winged beats and scorched feathers. The dull drowning above fell silent as I heard my attacker shriek in pain, only for her agony to fade as the horribly agonized mind injector tightened to scrape on her mind. Before I could even look at her, however, I turned my pyrokinesis towards the approaching parasites. Each thick brain popped like a scalded blood spray, the electronics crackling out as the fire consumed them. The moment they were gone, I started to pan, adrenaline rushing through my body as I turned back to the griffin. Jenna's face was blackened, yet like any major burns. The thing latched onto her head seemed to have taken most of the flames. She had appeared then, with a living husk for assistance. She could generate far faster than they were dashing about on the floor like slimy insects. Gina, stop! I demanded. The only look of recognition came from the glowing eye of the thing controlling her. Once again, she began to prowl towards me. A scorched foreleg causing a laugh she didn't seem to even recognize. Once again, I was forced to back up, but something in my vision gave me an idea. My pip bug was working, and I knew what I could do. That recollection, a patronizing hoof class went off in my mind. In an instant, I set up to target one specific part of my attacker with SATS. Failure to reason with Gina, my years worth of instinct gave me much choice, and I pointed my blaster right at her. Just like with the radar mirror on the bridge, time once again seemed to slow. I was like entering a memory orb. It was as if the world fell away as a veil of stillness fell into place. The flow of myself stiffened, yet the same magical effect did not consume me. What it did change was my vision. I lined up several shots from one of my plasma rifles into pulsing thing attached to her head and executed the spell. My uncertainty demanded I get out of this warped time frame as fast as I could. So I went down. The bedbug's nearly functioning spell did not fail me as several bolts of magical green energy flashed right across the mutated horror, dissolving into a mulch-hue pulled upon the side of her head. But by my guilt, she fell on the floor, no way to block out her howls of pain as she went limp. That, the whole room seemed to go silent. Nah, but the orange light of the furnace passed over us. I looked at myself, as my rifle suspended beside me with a cyan aura. Did it work? Or was she dead? Or did either of those things make me feel any better? Tentatively, I approached, and after a few moments, I was glad to see she was still breathing. Even though the air seeping from her beak was rasping and saturated with bloody gargles, I stopped a hoof lengths away from her, trimming the hammer I tried using first, and prodded the thing into her side like she was some trap to set off. Using the toilet flipper over her revealed the bloody blister on the side of her face, and the horrible burn wound. The brain thing has knocked several inch-wide holes through her skull. Her eyes twitched as did the metal tendrils still sunk deep into her flesh as I jumped back as the thing began to regrow. She began directly handwork, noise and horror as pulsating brain tissue began to crawl its way back out from her face, and the metal tendril began to writhe. "Dragonfire!" came another panicked voice. I spun around to see Barry and a cloak galloping towards me. The moment I saw them, I stepped in front of Gina. I knew it was nothing they needed to see. Ultimately, there was a darker thought in my mind. Did Jerry think I'd done this? Or still, did she think I'd to do it because of what Gina said to her? A series of hard cracks sounded as the griffin's skull twitched and stiffened. It was pressing me to think of something quick. All I knew now was that we needed to get out of here and back to Sky with the medical supplies before we all became mindless brain zombies. I saved Gina if I could, not over Cherry or any of the others. What happened to saving ponies? My mind asked snaggily. Instinct told me that if we couldn't get the thing off of her, we couldn't risk any of them get attached themselves to us either. Does that mean you kill her to save them? I guess that is the easiest way to save somebody from the wasteland, isn't it? My mind ended. I wasn't like that though. Never let anything happen to my friends. But how about those ponies who I didn't know, or even my enemies? Did every pony deserve a chance? I closed my eyes, shaking my head. Dragonfire! Dragon! Say it, came Cherry's voice. Then she paused with a weak start. What happened? She asked weakly, fear shining in her eyes. I looked at her, right into those teal spheres as they shimmered in the orange glow of the furnace. Does she think this of me? Does she think I've done this? What kind of pony does she think I was right now? Before I could even think, however, my rear ribs were dragged out from under me. I screamed as Sheena's talons sawed out and cut through the weaker gaps of my steel armor, and wrenched me back towards her. The unnatural force of her claws was like a metal vise. It almost felt like she could rip my leg right off as I kicked out, my insides feeling as if they turned to jelly. Griffin's expressionless face looked at me coldly. Just like that, he then died. But that was pain, fear, anger at myself. Mortality became nothing but a dream as I pulled my arm at her. She wasn't a monster. She definitely wasn't Gina anymore. Magic flared, and the cyan glow around it grew brighter and brighter. A sudden crack echoed through the air seconds before the fire could escape me. Gina's ground went limp as her grasping forelimb exploded in a bloody shower and she flared her wings to jump back. Cliff levitated his shotgun directly at her other talon as the first began to rapidly regrow. I felt the urge to cry out, overcome my anger. But the fiery glow faded from my arm in the same instant, and then I wanted to tell him to stop. A hoof pulled me back from the griffin before I could do any of those things, however. Oh, Gustus, what's wrong with her? Here, take this. Cherry started in a panic. She guarded my bladed leg and pushed a healing potion into my mouth. I had no choice but to down the whole thing as she shivered her hose, refused to leave me. Only my strength came back to me, I was finally able to push it away. I have no idea. Came in here and that thing was stuck to her face, and now she keeps trying to kill every pony. As if on cue, sounds of shattering glass heralded with those more augmented brains hitting the floor. We have to get out of here, now! I stated urgently, as I brought up my weapon and began to fire upon the approaching abominations. She didn't even question my armed aggression as she began to blast the things with a zap zap. Led back to see the way we entered, the several more brains shouted beside it. Clip, come on! Cherry called. I glanced back to see the close eyes fixed upon Gina as she rose again and again from the shot of his weapon. Come on, kid! I called too. At the moment I turned away from the oncoming mass of brains, I felt several cold tendrils coiling around my helmet. A fear the likes of which I never endured filled me as its touch and sound of metal biting through even the dragon's skill was only doubling that threat. I dropped my weapon and reached up with my forelegs as blackness threatened to consume my vision and sharp spines found their way to my coat. All of a sudden, that fire had burned within my horn flared forth. Fear overwhelmed me as I let the magic flow through my horn without end until the foul creature eventually burst into ichor and flame and fell away. We need to go! I screamed in panic, as I desperately searched for my weapon and ran for the door. A sharp cry behind me stopped me in my tracks as I turned back to see Clip swirl on the hoods by Gina's claws. Jerry cried the Colt's name as some of the slithering horrors turned and rushed towards him. Gina pressed forwards, putting him down under her talons as the first of the creature's coiled his metal barbs around his legs and another battled for the space atop his head. I saw nothing. Not fear, anger, or emotion of any kind as they pointed my buster right at the griffin's head. SAT's assisted shots melted from her shoulders as two more blasts disintegrated the horrors tearing at the Colt below. Gina's limp corpse fell into the floor, twitching and bubbling. With several bright flashes as Jerry opened fire on the rest of the attacking units. I had no love for any of them as I pulled to Clip's side, sweeping him up in my action and placing him across my back, blood trailing from the coiling wounds in his legs. Jerry, we need to go, now! I called. Looking back, I saw the pink mirror backpedal to my side as a swarm of hungry brains crawled their way towards us. They're still coming, she shuddered, unrelenting in her defense as more brains toppled down up on the walls above us. Looking to the door through which we'd enter, I realized just now she was it was covered with things. Then my mind began to spin as I urgently searched for another escape. A deep sound echoing through it from the speakers boomed as I found it. That sense of voice beneath the stack almost recognizable. Not that I had any time to think about where I'd heard it before. There! A security door! I shouted suddenly, before darting towards the small exit through the one we entered. Terry galloped after me, the flash of zap seizing as our swarm grew. Like a mind sensing her presence, over the jars above us shattered, the contents falling down on us with ravenous hunger. About I wanted to start with my blaster as we reached the door and darted through it, slamming the heavy metal close behind us. Can you lock it? I asked the moment the metal sat between us as a horrific swarm. Jerry looked up at me, panting hard. Then she looked at the thick metal door. It's a magnetic seal. There has to be a manual to the way to seal it, she told me. Instantly I fell about finding such a thing. The deep sound of static and slithering of foul things opposite the door did more than persuade me to hurry. Then, like a living wall, they began to slam against the door, tendrils snaking through and drilling at its weaker edges. She threw her magic around the door, holding it close as I finally found the terminal. Okay, now there is no time for messing up Dragonfire, I told myself as I connected the pit bug to the machine. Each failed attempt was 1 second more Cherry had to hold the door. One step closer to having somebody else's mutate brain trying through my skull and turn me into a mindless zombie. Dragonflyer, please hurry, came Cherry's strained voice, her face contorting as she fought to keep the creatures out. Seeing her like that didn't do anything to aid my concentration, and at the next failure, I realized just how much we were so much for saving ponies, so much for saving her. Fuck you, Wasteland. I muttered to myself as I stared emptily at the screen. That had secured our fate. Then all of a sudden, the silky green glow lit up with one message. Foreign program accepted. Equestrian robot service code 249 overruled. Access granted. Security door 234 sealed. Have a nice day. There was a loud shut as the door sealed, cutting out several metal tendrils, reaching through and leaving them to wriggle on the floor for a second before going limp. Then a sigh of relief from Cherry as she collapsed against the wall opposite the door. I, meanwhile, stared at the scream. What? I stuttered, then coughed and laughed. I had no idea what was happening, but we were alive. My stupidity had not killed us, yet had not saved us either. The screen had died to a cold blackness. I looked down at my pick bug, pulling it away from the terminal and rotating my foreleg. Something was definitely wrong with it unless I didn't know all there was to know about pit bugs. One thing for sure, this one seemed very keen to keep us alive. You okay? I asked Sherry. I threw it away for exasperation. She nodded. I was never taught how to keep a door shut as well as I was taught how to open one. She panted, a relief clear on her tone. At that my joy was overwhelmed as I looked over my shoulder at Clip. The little coal was curled up all over my back, but still trailing from his wooden legs. Immediately my horn blew and retrieved a set of healing bandages. Cherry, give me a healing potion, quickly! He called, managing his whims. He looked up at me, then shivered as he tried to raise his head. Hey, whoa, don't try to sit up. I instructed as Cherry offered me a healing potion. Before Clip could say anything, I pressed it to his muzzle. Cherry watched me silently, then her eyes fell nervously upon the floor. Gina? She began. Stopped. I stiffened. The image of the griffin's head melted away in the grimacely slow motion of SATs flashing through my mind. That wasn't Gina. I think she was already dead when I found her. I lied. Surely if I tried I could have saved her, right? Sorry for her face bloody and broken while that thing had been more focused on regenerating than controlling her situation otherwise. So my doubts persisted. She was going to let them do the same to me. Clip's timid voice stuttered as I moved the potion aside. I turned to look at the cold. She was going to do nothing to you. The thing on her face was after us all. I told him firmly, then my expression softened. Besides, if not for you, I'd have been no better off, I added, knowing that if I'd not been possessed by one of the brains, the stupid mortals would have ensured I had been regretted not burning Gina to a crisp. Was that any better than blasting her head off? I might ask. The idea of her hurting Cliff had possessed me far more than any foul brain abomination ever could. What the hell are they? Jerry asked with a clear desire to change the subject from the dead griffin. Never seen anything like them. Though brain bots were bad enough as they usually are. I told her, looking back at the door. The rumbling of that stagnant voice was still audible through the deck metal. It's a slowly growing grinding sound of 100 metal teeth trying to gnaw their way through. They can't get through it, can they? Clip asked, as the woods on the stick slowly began to close into bloody seams. Sounds on the other side were more than enough to persuade me to putting their abilities to the test was not a good idea. I don't know. We're not waiting here to find out. Come on, we still need to get back to the others. Please tell me you got all the healing supplies you could. I said and Cherry nodded back to her full saddlebags. It wasn't an awful lot. I got all I could. There was even a pair of medical braces, she told me. Your confidence returning along. I nodded. I was ignoring the tiny metal mouse continuing to eat away at the door behind us. We began deeper into the industrial labyrinth. Tight pipeline, the tunnels and steamy walkways were almost homely, right down to the dull red hue. It was so close to perfect it hurt, but the scuttling and missing machinery always had me on edge. So close to perfect. You even had some sort of ravenous brains that went to eat your mind. Passing through the open conveyor belts and assembling stations of an area, the factory marked BrainBots Assembly. It made the edge all the sharper. Yet it seemed that all the brains still alive and able to feed were behind us. You have any idea how to get out of here? Cherry asked me. Though I had a million explanations as to how I would save her from this. Mine demanded the real reason. No. But we got to the holding blocks for an emergency sail-off for the primary supply shaft. So the primary supply loads must be around here somewhere, he offered hopefully. I could see the questions on her lips. She was waiting to ask me what I'd do if one of the many possibilities obstructed that plan. She's right. There's a cargo elevator to the main warehouse. It's on the top while looking through the ruins upstairs, Cliff added, moving between us from his perch upon my back. I seemed to soften Cherry's worry slightly. I was still very much on edge. If not for the monsters crawling through the mass of metal factory around us, then the thing that had saved us by closing the door. As grateful as I was that none of us were mindless zombies, Didn't like the idea of somebody messing with me for reasons other than my own, especially after Overseer's actions. Well, it's good to see that at least one person has arrived, my mind snickered. But once again, it spurs the mental distraction. Now it's not the time for distractions, brain. Moments later, the emotional dictatorship was stopped slightly by the side of the sign landing the area we were entering. East Warehouse's cargo elevator. The room beyond was a large open chamber. Catwalks crisscrossed the midsections and above tracks, and lip crane bore cloths and empty mail carts. Lots of junk littered most of the floor. Water dripped from the gloomy side above. Cerebral Command. Crusader mainframe. Model Alpha 4. Was running upon a large wall of machinery before me. Here! Came close voice as he jumped up and ran over to the large door on the far side of the room. The elevator's still at the top, but we can call it down if it's still working, he began, ushering Cherry towards him with a wave of his hoof. Took a step in the opposite direction, my eyes fixed on the wall of machinery. For it was a table, similar to that of the operating tables, only far more advanced and intricate, as if the other torture tables hadn't been enough, I thought bluntly. One thing that wasn't different was the skeleton that lay upon the table before me. Skull cut cleanly open. It was an earth body, pony's body. Strangely of all was a pit bug loosely wrapped about the bones of her right foreleg. I glanced up at the machine, then back at the device on the skeleton. Gosh, to start my curiosity. I cursed myself as my horn flared and slipped the device free. A limited knowledge of tools were enough to access some of it, yet without a user, most of it was beyond my reach. All but a set of emergency recordings. One was a recorded message. The rest were series taken in short succession. Dragonfire, need your pit bug. I heard Sherry call as I pulled out my ear bloom and activated the first message. Hey Babs, it's Apple Bloom. The voice that came from the message was that of a sentient mare. Even though she sounded as though she was trying to hide that with a more formal tone. Even so, it was far-fetched from the pessimistic stuff I was usually subjected to. Sorry I couldn't come see you in person. It's been really busy over here in Philadelphia. But with the war getting as bad as it and all, part of me is just glad it ain't the only one who misses it. It used to be when we were younger. Anyway, I shouldn't be filling this message with all that kind of stuff. This is about a Crusader mainframe. The prototype we built in the factory is still to be decommissioned. Personally, I thought it was fine. Skill is pushing for the Meg 5 now. Says we need the absolute best. With all that she's describing for this version, we're not gonna be able to make one, maybe two at most. Sometimes I get the feeling she don't think my work is absolute best no more. Not that really matters anymore anyway. I also got news about the new sailor being set across the river from you. I think his business Sweeney will talk to you about that when she comes down next week. Apple Bloom gave a tired groan. Then there was a sound like the scattering papers as she almost seemed to growl in tired frustration. You know, I really want to be me that come see ya. Feels like the whole Apple family's not a family no more. Even me and Applejack don't talk half as much as we used to, especially after Big Mac. There's another thudding sound. Apple Bloom hit her head up on what I assumed was a wooden desk. You know what? Keep that mainframe running. It ain't gonna be doing anything it's supposed to do there, and I don't want to feel like all that time we spent on it is wasted. So keep it, cause you know how it works and Skillu don't need to know. It could be an Apple family secret, just like the good old days. For all this. That Apple Bloom stack voice faded and the message just stopped. I reached the others with a slightly sadder expression. It's hard to think of ponies before the war was struggling when we had to battle to survive every day. Yet for some reason, as I glanced back at that skeleton on the table, it felt a slight chip in my stoic feel on the old world. Are you alright? Jerry asked. I snapped back to see them both looking at me. Yeah, I'm fine, I mumbled, slipping the pet book I found the skeleton into my bag and connecting my own to the elevator terminal. Once again, the wall gibberish appeared before me. It was out a swarm of hungry brains after me. It was far better corrupt to break through, even if I was still wearily anticipating somebody else doing it for me. Access denied. That's all I received for my efforts.
Well, you three are a bunch of bull troublemakers, ain't ya?
Came a deep, stacked voice. It was the voice of the speakers again. The now clear voice of some kind of robot. I really hated robots. The shock looking upon the faces of my friends told me otherwise, and I looked back to the mainframe to see all the screens had come to life, including a large one right above the table, and a red brain jar that had lit up in the vast wall of machinery. Now I knew why I recognized that voice. I recognized the face of the Earth pony on the screens. Babsy looked as if she'd been plucked right from my memory. Funo, level up. New perk added. Exterminator level 3. When it comes to wastelands irradiating vermin, you're undoubtedly, without question, the absolute best pony for the job. Even if those vermin happen to be almost 2 centuries old. Gain plus 30 damage against all creatures that and they're below 30% maximum health. 20 loss. Gina. Don't blame yourself. Some rebels just aren't cut out for the tough life. Our relay companion perks lost.